Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another session of our Global Employability Expert Series brought by Virtual Internships. And I am Mirta Aguirre, and I'm going to be your host, and I'm going to be your guest for today. So I'm in this amazing double role. And let me jump into today's topic, which I thought could be really interesting for you all, because this is a very key subject when we think about professional development, and it is why you need to take a conscious and proactive approach to your career development. Okay, I thought this could be of use. I understand you are all doing a virtual internship or completing, or you have just completed it, and you are thinking of your next professional steps of your career development. And this is something I would have loved to know when I was your age. I think I have a couple of years more than you. So the idea is to share something that is going to be of use to you. But before jumping into today's topic, I want to remind you how the webinar works, okay? So we are recording this. You can always watch this later on or pass it along to someone you think may be interested in listening to this. We have also a YouTube channel, so you can always subscribe and be, you can find out when we have our next webinar, and you will always find interesting content. And then you can also ask questions, please. You have the chat, you have the Q&A, write, comment. I will be super happy to read your comments, and the more interactive we can make it, the better. Okay, and if you have any questions about your program, reach out to your IEM. So I want to check that everyone can hear me correctly. So if you can write something in the chat to make sure everything's okay, that will be wonderful. So excellent. So I think we can go into our topic and start exploring, right? And so basically today's topic is take ownership of your own career path. Why it is important to have a conscious self-development approach to your professional development, okay? And basically, we know that creating a fulfilling career requires taking a proactive and conscious approach to professional development. But what does this mean, okay? How can we do this? So in this webinar, you will learn the importance of a self-discovery and self-creation approach to career development and how to do it, okay? And I will also share some mindsets and tips that will help you adapt to new challenges and make sure that you are following this path, okay? So let's jump a little bit into who I am. So you know who is speaking, because it is always interesting to understand what perspective the person who is sharing something has, what their background is. And in my case, I've always been super curious. I speak 5 languages now. I've always been into learning, and I work remotely because I work as the employability head of employability and coaching in virtual internships. And I do this because I love education. I love professional development. I teach public speaking, debating. I studied international relations. I have a master's in international development, and I'm a certified coach. So I'm all into youth, interculturality, and growing, right? And learning, because I definitely believe the more we learn, the more we grow, the better chances we have to have a fulfilled life, right? Both in personal capacity or in professional capacity. And this is the approach I'm going to use today to share with you how we can make sure you're taking ownership of your career development process, okay? Remember, if you have any questions, any comments, write in the chat or the Q&A. So basically, right, you have all, I think you're very aware of where we're standing today, right? We are living in a very particular context, right? We are experiencing this lifelong learning context, which means that we have a whole life ahead of us in which we are going to be learning, unlearning, relearning. Why? because our world goes super fast, right? Changes happen all the time. Everything is very dynamic, right? Everything is very volatile. Things are, we have new discoveries, technology that is moving so fast that what we know and what we studied is quickly no longer relevant, right? So we need to adapt. And when we need to adapt, of course, we need to think that our career path and how we approach our professional development will also need some adjustments, right? Whether it is if we are just starting our career or we already have some years of experience, we are always learning and we need to adapt. Okay, can you write in the chat how, if this is your first work experience, if this is your first internship, or if you've already have experience in the job, if you graduated or not, so I can understand a little bit where you are. That would be great. And some other very important piece of context we are living in a post-pandemic world, right? We know we still have COVID-19 here, and that has created a lot of changes. So when we think about the future in this context, what can we think, okay? What does the future look like? We can, second internship, awesome, thank you. So you have a little bit of experience in working, that's great. So I think this is going to be interesting for you because when we think about how the future looks like, right? First internship, awesome. The future is challenging. Why? Because this has created a very specific and special context. And awesome, I can see. Great, nice answers. So what does the future look like? And when I say future, it's right like this because the future is here. And I don't know if you're aware with this picture I included in the presentation, the Jetstones. This was a cartoon, right? When I was growing up, and they were the family from the future. And the future that was described there is almost the future we have now. We don't have still flying cars massively around because they have been created. And this future is here, right? We know this future has come. And what does this mean in terms of professional development and work? So basically, one important thing, an interesting thing to know is that we need to reskill, okay? And what does this mean? Reskilling means learning new skills for a different job. And why is this the case? Because 50% of workers will require reskilling by 2025. 2025 is basically tomorrow, guys. So this means 50% of workers will need to learn new skills to do a different job. This is very important. Many people, 40% of current workers' core skills are expected to change in the next 5 years too, which means we need to learn additional skills to perform the same job, right? Upskilling means I still do my same job, but I need to learn new skills, right? So can you identify a little bit of you saying, okay, I have some skills today, and definitely I will need to keep on working on them. So we can start thinking of, okay, how can we stay relevant and how can we take ownership of our career path? Here we have some hints. And definitely COVID-19, right, has pushed companies to work remotely. You are doing a virtual internship, so you know how that feels like. And of course, working remotely entails a whole set of specific skills, right? We work longer and there are new jobs coming up every time. And we haven't even thought, we don't have an idea what these jobs are going to look like. So this is challenging, right? Because you said, oh, I'm creating my career path. How do I fit in this very particular context? And so one thing you could definitely do to make sure that you are creating your career path and that you are taking ownership of it is to take a conscious and an active approach, okay? And when I say conscious and active for career development, what am I talking about? What do you think this means? Who can tell me? Who can write in the chat? When we say, okay, we need to create a conscious and active and proactive career development path, what does that mean? Who can tell me? Are we talking about running a marathon? Are we talking about what does it mean to be active and proactive when we talk about career development? What do you think? Who can tell me? Okay, I have here in the Q&A, someone says, making sure we are always making progress. Yeah, okay, perfect. And what do we mean by progress? What does that mean? Okay, but we have a hint, right? When we talk about active and conscious approach, what I'm talking about is we need to know ourselves and we need to take ownership, okay? And these are two big key essential parts, columns, building stones for our professional development, okay? And here, I will send these resources with you, and later on you can also, you can always send me a message. You can connect with me through, my LinkedIn profile, or you can send me an email to Virtual Internships. I will send this presentation, and if you see, we have here some, when we see the link, we have resources. This presentation is full of super interesting resources that you can use to help you work more on this. So when we talk about getting to know yourself, there are four key pieces that are super important for professional development, okay? 4 pieces of information that we need to know. And these are our skills and knowledge, okay? What subjects, what topics do I know? What can I do? What soft skills and hard skills do I have? This is super important, right? Because if we want to create a path that adapts to ourselves and we want to create our career, we need to know our skills, what we can do and what we know, okay? Then we, of course, want to know our personal characteristics. How do I think? How do I feel? How do I behave? Who am I? How am I? This may look like very philosophical questions. They are, and we need to know this, right? Because imagine you start doing a job that is the opposite of how you are. It's a job that requires you to speak with many, many people and be all the time very active, but actually you are more of a calm person and you like being on your own and being, you know, more quiet and working alone, then it's going to be a clash, right? This job may be not so great for you. So skills and knowledge, personal characteristics, super important to know. Interests. What are you interested in? What activities are most likely to make you feel fully engaged and that you enjoy doing? Is it writing a paper? Is it speaking with other people? Is it researching? What are you interested in? What you don't like, okay? What tasks, what subjects, what type of people interest you, okay? Is it, we had someone who did an internship in healthcare, right? Are you interested in healthcare? If that is the case, because you studied that and you're super interested, then great. But what if you are not interested at all in this subject? It's going to be hard, right? For you to imagine working 8 hours a day in something you are not interested. So getting to know our interests is super, super important. Then we also need to know our values. What principles and standards of behavior are important to me? Okay, what are those things that I cannot compromise? For me, I know that in a job, it is super important to have a mentally healthy environment, okay? I want to work somewhere where I can feel safe, where I know that people are nice, where I'm not gonna I'm not gonna feel so much pressure that it's going to affect my mental health. I don't want that. I know I've had some work experiences where I didn't feel okay because I wasn't having a good time. And for me, that is a very important value, okay? What are the values that you cannot compromise? If you find a job where you need to do something that goes against your values, then probably that's not the good job for you, okay? So skills and knowledge, personal characteristics, interests, and values. When we talk about knowing yourself, we talk about knowing these 4 pieces of information that are essential to make sure that you are creating a professional path that goes in your same direction. And so have you already reflected on this? Have you taken the moment to say, what are the skills I have? What are the things I know? What am I interested in? Can you share in the chat if you have done this? And if you have you written this down? I can assure you that once you start having this in written, then great things happen because you can start having patterns, seeing patterns, right? Saying, oh, actually, I'm really interested in this and I'm good at this. So perhaps I could start exploring a next internship in this field, or perhaps I can start thinking of learning more of that, right? And so the benefits of really creating this self-awareness and self-learning development path is that you will uncover your strength, okay? You will say, oh, okay, now I have realized that I'm good at this, that I'm good at that. And that gives you a sense of empowerment, right? Because once you know what your strengths are, then you can say, okay, I'm confident at doing this. These are the type of projects I can take. Also, when you do this assessment, what happens is that you can identify areas for development. You can say, oh, actually, when I started reflecting about what do I know, what I can do, what my passions are, what my values are, I realized that I have lots of room for improvement in, let's say, teamwork. Maybe I should start improving my teamwork skills, right? And also creating this, having this approach will also help you, of course, perform better in your current job or your internship. Because once you start getting yourself better, you get this sense of, okay, I know what I can do. I know where I should ask for help because I will reach out to people who can help me do things I'm not so comfortable doing or that I don't know much about. So that's great. Also, as we mentioned, this will give you the opportunity to evaluate different orientations or career path, right? Because once you get to know your skills, what you're interested in, your values, you may say, oh, maybe I'm ready now to go explore this new line of job or career. And definitely remember, when you need to apply for a new job or do a job interview, we definitely need to know ourselves, right? Remember you passing any interview and the interviewer asking, oh, so tell me about yourself. That's quite a challenging moment, right? I don't know about you, but when I do it, it's like, oh, okay, what should I say? You know, who am I? And when we don't know ourselves, how can we answer? If we do all this exploration process, then we will have clarity on what we can say. In this interview, we can explain why we are the perfect person for this new role. So we can come up to a job interview well prepared, okay? Super ready to rock the interview. And of course, this will help us write meaningful resumes and cover letters. And of course, it will help us take ourselves ownership of our career path. It's not gonna be anyone else directing where we're gonna go, but it's going to be us saying, oh, I think this should be my next career step. This is where I want to keep on exploring. And so how can we do this, right? And basically, one interesting thing to know is that according to a Gallup survey, 36% of university students don't get the skills they want, okay? I don't know about your experience, but probably if you're in this number, and if it happened like it happened to me, like when I finished university, I felt, oh my God, what can I do? Okay, what do I know? What are my skills? I didn't know. And also, honestly, I don't think my university really prepared me for that, right? And that is why real work experience, like internships, will give you the opportunity to be in touch with this, right? Now that you're doing your virtual internship, I really encourage you to start reflecting on this. What skills am I learning through my virtual internship? We're going to explore now what are the skills we should be paying attention to. So by the time you finish your virtual internship, you said, oh, this is everything I learned, okay? And then you're going to be so much ready for a future job interview, because you will go and you said, okay, I did this virtual internship. This is what I learned. These are my skills. This is what I'm good at. And this is what I would love to explore in this job, right? And also, even if you feel like you know where you're going and that you're super satisfied with the path you're creating, which is also great, it is always good to make sure that you are doing this consciously, right? That is not like you are, well, I'm following this, but I'm not sure, right? It is always better to say, oh, I know that these are my skills, these are my talents, these are the things I do. So, how is it going so far? Can you share a little bit in the chat? How does it sound? And so how can we do, right? How can we do to say, okay, I wanna take ownership of my career development path? Yeah, there we go. What does it mean? Well, if you've ever been to London, to the UK, they have this really nice, you know, when you are going to train the tube or the subway or the metro, depending on where you live, it will have a different name. But when you are in the wagon and you are going out of the train, or you are going inside the train, you have this lady, this man that says, mind the gap, right? Identify this gap. And so this is what we need to do. We need to find our vision, okay? Our vision, it can be a big vision, or it can just be our next step, okay? So if you guys are like, oh, I'm not sure what I will do after my internship, don't worry, okay? We don't have to have it all figured out, but we do need to have some hints, right? So when you have some hints, it's much easier. So identifying your next step or your longer vision, in order for you to do that, then we need to mind this gap, okay? We need to understand where we are now and where we want to be, or what we want to grow into, okay? And for that, we can ask ourselves, okay, I am here, so I used to be, I still am, I teach at university. And I said, okay, I love teaching, okay? This is something I really enjoy. I would also love to do other things, right? I would love to be able to work with my students one-on-one. I would like to have a personalized approach, because when I teach, I'm in front of the classroom, but I don't have the time to speak with just with all my students, right? I speak to my group, but I don't have time to speak one-on-one. And so the kind of a teaching I do is like a group teaching. And so I said, okay, what could I love to do next? And I thought, oh, I would love to be able to work individually with people, right? Or maybe I would love to be a coach, right? And then I said, okay, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to grow into, right? I want to grow into being a coach, education coach, employability coach. What do I need to get there? And so I asked myself some questions, okay? What do I need to learn? What do I need to do? Who do I need who can actually help me, right? Maybe I can go and talk to other people who already do this, right? Who do I need to become, right? Perhaps there are some personal characteristics that I need to develop as well, right? So when we think about where we are, our present situation, and where we want to be, right? When we discover this gap, then we can start identifying, okay, and how can I do to get there? How can I do to achieve my goal? And this is where we can think, of course, in making an assessment of our current situation, right? Our current situation, that is the skills and knowledge we currently have, the personal characteristics we have, the interests, the values, and we can do a sort of, evaluation. We can get like a detective and say, okay, let's zoom up, okay? Let's see, how am I doing in each department? And especially, and very important, like I started my presentation, is skills, right? We know by now that skills are essential to do any job. And actually, many and most industries are now taking an approach of hiring by skills, not necessarily by degree. I mean, you perhaps studied graphic design, but what I want to see is what you can do. So I will probably ask you, okay, can you design this piece of content? And so what I will be evaluating are your skills to be able to do this. It is okay that you have the degree, but what I do want to know is that you can do it. And so what you can do are skills in practice. So we always need to be improving our skills. And so when we talk about skills, what are we talking about, right? As we said, skills are things we can do by repetition, right? It's something we master, okay? Skills like writing, like speaking in public, like teamwork. These are things that I can do, that I can perform, and I acquire this and improve this by doing them. The more we practice a skill, the better we get. That's a good thing, right? Because I wasn't necessarily good at working with other people, but then I started practicing, and then I started improving. And most skills, all of them basically, can be improved. And we can identify two sets of skills, okay? We can identify soft skills and hard skills. Actually, soft skills, some people, well, we could say that they are not really soft. Soft seems like, oh, they're not that important, but actually, these are super important skills. And in the world of human resources, we started calling them power skills, okay? Because usually soft skills are skills that are harder to evaluate. Why? Because soft skills are also called people skills or social skills, and it involves everything that you do with other people, right? Or how you interact with other people. For instance, soft skills is being patient. Soft skills are communication skills. Soft skills are working with other people. Soft skills are skills that you need a lot of time to develop and practice in context. Hard skills, on the contrary, are specific skills specific for an industry or for a task. For instance, hard skills is coding. A hard skill is, for instance, writing a project proposal, right? Something very specific that you do specifically in a context. A hard skill is, for instance, using Excel, right? It is something very specific that you know that can be applied to a specific industry and to a specific area of knowledge. And usually hard skills are learned by doing a course or going to university. You can do a course on PowerPoint, Excel. You can learn how to code. You can learn how to design something very specific. And so these are easier to measure, okay? Because you can say, okay, this is, I know how to, my level in Excel is advanced, okay? Because I'm a super expert on Excel. But soft skills are harder to measure, because how can you tell how good you are communicating with other people? How can you tell how patient you are? How can you tell how energetic you are, right? And those things definitely are not developed in one course. You cannot become a leader just because you did a course on leadership, okay? You can learn how what a good leader does, but you are not going to become a good leader just because you do a course, right? Being a good leader means many practice, many situations where you are there practicing your leadership skills. So these both sets of skills are essential for your work, for your professional development, okay? So you need to identify which skills you have and how you can improve, right? This is very interesting because this is a type of people at work. There are, according to human resources, there are different types of people at work, and they use different letters to identify these. Basically, one type of people at work are the T-shaped people, okay? T-shape, as you can see, they have the shape of a T, and this means T-shaped people are people who have an area of broad expertise, of knowledge, and then they have a deep knowledge and skills in one area, right? And so a T-shaped professional means someone who has specific knowledge and specific skills in one particular area or discipline, but that can adapt to different other areas because they have a broad set of skills and knowledge, right? And it is good to think what kind of professional you are becoming. If you are an engineer, let's say you are an oil engineer, that's quite specific. So perhaps you are the kind of person who is going to have one area of expertise. If you studied social science, then probably you are a generalist. You know a little bit of everything, right? But let's say that if you are a graphic designer who also, or the other way around, that you studied social science and then with time you specialized in graphic design, and you can identify that you can work for NGOs, for companies, you can work in different kind of projects, and also you have your expertise in graphic design, and probably you are a T-shaped professional, right? So it is good to know this. And one key thing about soft skills is that soft skills are transferable skills. What do I mean by this? Every job will require you to be probably working in teams, okay? It should be super rare where you never, or let's say that communication. It is super weird that you find a job where you don't need to communicate with anyone, right? Even if you work as a freelance, even if you work on your own, you will always need to communicate with someone. Maybe it's with your client, maybe it's with the internet provider, you will always need to communicate. So communication is a transferable skill that will be useful for you in any job you do. Same thing with, for instance, teamwork, as I mentioned before. Well, chances are you will always need to work with other people. So these kind of skills are going to be useful for any industry and anything you do. So it is really important for you to identify these skills, these soft skills, because this can be transferred to any other thing you do. So now in your internship, identify what are you doing during your internship? Are you writing emails? Are you communicating professionally? Are you having meetings with your supervisor? Well, these are all things that you definitely can do to another job. And this is very important to identify because this is going to be useful for you in your new interview or job experience. And so I wonder if you have already had your coaching call. Can you share with me, have you had your first coaching call? You know that as part of our program, we have 2 coaching calls, and these coaching calls are really interesting because the idea is that they can help you reflect on your career development, on your next steps, where you are, how can you take advantage of this professional experience that is your virtual internship. And during our coaching calls, we use this framework for skill development. And we use this concept, which is career readiness, okay? Career readiness, as the National Association of Colleges and Employers in the United States define it, is a set of fundamental skills that prepare you for success in the workplace, okay? So if you're doing your virtual internships, means that you are very lucky because you're being able to develop these skills, you are able to recognize these skills, and as we just learned, the moment you can recognize your skills, you can learn how to improve, you can then be aware of your career development path, and then you start taking ownership. Does that make sense? So doing your virtual internship is really a good opportunity for you to reflect on this. And by the time you finish your internship, you said, oh, this was really interesting because this is what I learned. And when we talk about these 8 skills or competencies, what should you be paying attention to? So these 8 competencies, as NACE described them, are essentials to your career development. If you get to work on these 8 skills, then you have a lot of lots of chances of success in your next interview, in your next internship. And these 8 competencies are career and self-development, just being aware of where you stand in your career. Also communication, as we just mentioned, super important. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is about finding solutions, identifying problems, understanding best ways of action. So critical thinking is essential. Equity and inclusion is, am I able to work with different people from different backgrounds and different cultures, especially today in the work remote setting. We can work with people from all over the world. I'm from Argentina, South America, very south. My native language is Spanish, and I have colleagues from Vietnam. I have colleagues in Europe. I have colleagues who think differently, who have a different culture, and we all get to work together because we have developed this skill, okay? Intercultural skills. This is super important. Leadership, of course. Leadership is a great skill. You want to be able to lead people and get people in your team. Professionalism, of course. You don't want to get late. You don't want to be late for your meetings. You want to behave properly in the workplace. So professionalism is great. Teamwork, already mentioned this, and technology, of course, right? Today we're doing a virtual internship. We need to know how to leverage different technology, how to use it. And so these 8 skills, right? These eight skills are all transferable skills, meaning you will use this in probably any job you apply to. And if you start reflecting on these skills throughout your virtual internship, then by the time you end, you will say, oh, this was really interesting. This is what I learned. This is what I now take as a takeaway with me, right? And one thing it is important is research a little bit the skills that are most wanted in your career path, okay, in your industry. If you are your industry is technology or software development, then research what are the 10 most wanted skills for someone who works in software development. You can Google that, okay? What are the 10 skills, most skills looked in graphic designers, okay? Is it visual thinking? Is it, what is it that you need to know and be able to do in your industry? So we can see that for 2025, top 10 skills go around analytical thinking, active learning, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, technology use, resilience, right? So when you have all these skills, you are well prepared for your next job. So that's what you need to identify. And this is a nice way you can use to do your assessment, right? I share this with my private mentees, how you can start reflecting on, okay, what are my skills, soft skills or power skills? Okay, you can list them down. I said, okay, my current ones are communication, public speaking, and I would love to develop these new skills. And then we can come up with ways in which you can practice that. And when you have everything in front of you written, you can realize and say, oh, okay, maybe one good way of doing this is I can join a debate club, right? Because when I go to a debate club, I'm gonna be working with other people. I'm gonna be developing my communication skills, my reasoning skills, my critical thinking skills. So do this exercise, and I'm sure you will come up with great ideas. And so, okay, we're getting closer to really unpacking this, right? How can we do this? And as I have said before, focus on skill development, okay? How can you develop these skills? And you can today do this by different ways. You can do this formally, like going to university or doing a course, or you can do it informally, right? Like I just said, like you can meet with people, practice these skills. And you should always start preparing for your next job before, right? So skill development is something that should happen right now. The good news is you are already doing this because you're doing a virtual internship and you are developing many, many skills. So this is already great. The thing you have to do now is like be really reflective on, okay, what are the skills I'm developing and how can I do to improve them while I'm doing my virtual internship. So by the time you finish your virtual internships, you're like, oh, this is great. This is everything I learned, right? And if we think about specific skills, let's say that you did a virtual internship in graphic design and that's not your area, but you learned a lot and you said, oh, I would love to learn more about this because I discovered I like it and I'm quite talented. Then you can always find courses on platforms like Coursera, edX. You can do Google certifications. You can do micro courses like the ones that LinkedIn has, for instance. And informal ways, you can volunteer, you can do internships, you can travel. Traveling is a super nice way to develop many skills, especially people skills, right? Being on your own in a different country, in a different culture, speaking another language that pushes you out of your comfort zone, and it allows you to find a new world, almost literally, right? If you have traveled to another country and you met different people, you say, wow, this is so different. I don't have any other option but putting myself out there and learning many things. So traveling is also a great way to gain skills. And you can set SMART goals, you can research SMART goals, these goals that are specific, that are measurable, that are bound to a time, that are realistic, so that are achievable. So if when you want to set goals, you can use this SMART framework. And what about networking? What about connecting with other people? This is absolutely super essential, super important, okay? Connecting with other people is part of our professional development. Creating a strong network is super important. And if you don't have LinkedIn, go and create a profile right now. If you have LinkedIn, then make sure you are making use of it and that you are connecting with other people. I invite you to connect with me. My name is Mirta Aguirre. I have just written it in the chat, and connect with me, okay? You never know in the future when someone can be a potential help in your career, okay? Because maybe networking means creating a network of people you know, that can support your career path. Support your career path doesn't mean necessarily give you a job. It can also means give you a piece of advice. You know, you can come and ask me, oh, Mirta, you know, I'm looking to learn more about this area. You have experience. Can you tell me, do you have any suggestions to make? And perhaps I direct you to a web page. But in the web page, you discovered one amazing course and you said, oh, this is great. And then you do this course, and in this course you meet another person, and this person then says, oh, actually, you know, I'm looking for someone like you in my team. So, you know, it's not direct. It's like having a network of people that can give you a piece of advice, that can share a resource, that can share some openings about a job. But it doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to meet someone and they're going to give you the job. But it means that you have a set of people that you can talk to, that you can ask for advice, and that can be useful for you in many different ways. So to use LinkedIn, you can always make sure that you have an updated profile, that you follow people that are leaders and influencers in your industry. You can join groups, you can follow companies and organizations. You can go to many different events online and in person, and you can definitely visit your career university centers and find mentors and coaches, okay? People many times love sharing advice about their career. Do you know anyone that you admire, whom you admire, that you said, oh, this person is super interesting, you know? Like, I love the work they do with graphic design. I love how they run this organization. I would love to learn from this person. So perhaps you can reach out and send a LinkedIn message and say, hey, I really admire your work. Perhaps you could have a coffee and you could share your some hints on how you created your career path. Perhaps you have some kind of advice for me who I am trying to create myself a career in this. So identify people who can be mentors, who can give you advice, okay? Because this is really powerful. And we're getting to the end. Do you have any questions? Write them down. In order to make sure that you create this path, you have to have lots of patience because things take time, you know. Sometimes we may want things to happen now, right now, and we live in a complex world. Doesn't happen always like that. Sometimes we have to have really bad jobs until we find one that is really the appropriate for us, that gives us the joy we want, it gives us the challenge, it pays the money we want. It's like in everything in life, we need to have patience. And so when we think of cultivating skills that are going to help us in this professional path, I can recommend you to work on your communication and assertiveness skills. Definitely, this is going to be super helpful. So take advantage of your virtual internship to practice your communication and assertiveness. Also, being persuasive, super important. Storytelling, being able to tell your story, right? That's essential. And also having a growth mindset. If you don't know what a growth mindset is, Google it. You will find super interesting articles on what this is. This was a concept brought by Carol Dweck, and I'm sure it will be definitely interesting. And then we need to be resilient and emotionally intelligent. So what do you think, guys? How does this look like? Is this something that you can put in practice in your virtual internship? Is this something that you can see yourselves applying? So you start taking this ownership path. I will share this presentation with you, and I will share many resources. Here you have, this is another super interesting concept about designing your life, how you yourself design the kind of work you want. And these are two professors from Stanford University in the United States. And I think you will like these. So I will share this with you. And I will also share these where you have many resources to keep on exploring. And can someone tell me what concrete steps they are going to take after this presentation? Do we have anyone who can tell me at least one step that they say, okay, after this presentation, now that I am doing my virtual internship, this is one thing I will do. Who can share? Okay, I have someone here in the Q&A that says, so after the presentation, I will start writing down all the projects and tasks I do to identify what I like and what I don't, and have more clarity in the future. Yeah, definitely. This is great. This is great. Nihanan also says, I will identify my strengths and values. Yes, that's a good one. Definitely, right? Identify what you're good at. Because once you know that, it's going to be easier for you, right? To say that in a job interview. And if you identify your values, then it's going to be a nice guide for you to navigate your jobs. What else? Anyone else? Do we have another question or something you're going to do after this talk? Okay, so someone says, I will work on teamwork. I will reach out more to my supervisor. Okay, that's good. And I will also connect with other coworkers. Yeah, okay, so that seems like also networking, right? That's really good. That's one thing that I suggest that you do. Improve your LinkedIn profile, add your supervisor and other people from your host company to your LinkedIn network. Okay, guys, so I think you have lots of resources and great tips now to really start creating this path for yourself. And you can connect with me. I will be happy to receive your LinkedIn invitations and see that you are doing already one of the steps to taking ownership of your career path, which is starting to build a professional network. So it was a pleasure for me to be here with you. And remember, you have 2 coaching calls as part of your program. You probably have already taken one, or you will be invited to take one. Book your call, take advantage of this, and we are here to connect with you and help you. So I hope you had a really nice, interesting session, and I wish you all an excellent day. So see you next time, guys. Bye.